You're watching KOMO News.
Right now, glad you are with us. Hope you are keeping cool on this sizzling Sunday. Temperatures in the danger zone right now. We did hit 103 degrees in Seattle today. The temperature recorded just after 2:30 this afternoon at Sea-Tac. That ties an all-time record set in 1945. The National Weather Service says it is the first time 2 straight days above 100 degrees in recorded climate history. That is something, and it is going to get even hotter tomorrow. All across the region today, people doing whatever they can to keep cool. And it's not easy when many homes in our area do not have air conditioning. This video is from Lake Union Park. We shot this earlier today, where more people flock to the water today. Even the little kids know they got to do it. We have team coverage to keep you and your family safe and to keep you informed. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell standing by, tracking the temps and the heat index. And today, a consequence of the sweltering heat, power outages. Abby Coney here to show us what could happen if you're in the heat too long. KOMO's Nick Popham starts our coverage from Newcastle, where one neighborhood is without power.
Talk about worst case scenario, Michelle. This Newcastle neighborhood, most of the houses have central air, but many have not been able to use it since 6:30 last night. And that's because they've been without power since then. And many have been just trying to do whatever they can to salvage their food or try to stay cool with the heat rising every minute. This Newcastle neighborhood is normally quiet, but since 6:22 Saturday night, it's been a quiet neighborhood without power. The only noise coming from at least one of the homes is this.
It has been pretty rough.
Chris Pudlicki has lived on 121st Avenue Southeast for years and has only had to deal with major power outages during the winter. This is different.
House is starting to heat up and makes it pretty brutal to hang around without having the power to run the AC anymore.
He was in his home when the power shut off yesterday and has been waiting for it to come back on ever since to try and salvage his food and stay cool as temperatures reach triple digits.
For this to be the weekend you lose power and can't run air conditioning, not used to that out here. We don't get that kind of temperatures.
Many of his neighbors have pulled out their generators to at least keep their fridges working so their food doesn't spoil from the heat. But many folks who've been without power for some time in our region don't have generators. As of 2:30 this afternoon, there were over 13,000 Puget Sound Energy customers without power, including the 12 houses on Pudlicki Street. Those numbers don't even include the nearly 700 customers without power through Seattle City Light as of 1 this afternoon. We reached out to both agencies for an interview. Neither were available. But for Pudlicki, he just hopes to get power back before things heat up even more.
Hopefully we can get it back soon, other than ride it out or end up hoping that the food in the refrigerators can hold out.
Though no one was available for an interview from those two agencies, they both sent us statements regarding the heat that's taking place this weekend. We'll have those statements attached to this story on our website, KOMOnews.com. In Newcastle, Nick Popham, KOMO News.
All right, from power to the roads, the heat really taking its toll. Happening right now, it is so hot, some of the pavement on an I-405 ramp has buckled. The Washington State Patrol has closed off part of I-405 in Tukwila after the pavement cracked and chunks came loose. The southbound I-405 ramp right to the northbound I-5 interchange is closed. That's where the damage is. Traffic has been shifted right over to the HOV ramp. It does remain open. A maintenance crew, we are told, is on the way to make repairs. We'll keep you posted. Right now, we are working to learn more about a person pulled from the water at Engle Lake. This is in Sea-Tac. The King County Sheriff's Office says they responded to the call this afternoon after 3:20. This was the scene from air crew as crews responded, trying to save that person and work on them. We don't have any idea if the victim was a man or a woman or what led up to that emergency call. And right now, we are working to try to get a condition on that swimmer. With our unprecedented temperatures, cities are responding with cooling centers. Today, Snohomish County opened more air-conditioned public spaces for that very reason. And we also found people in the county outside, despite the heat. The city of Monroe celebrating Pride for the very first time. KOMO's Cole Miller with the story.
It has been a day for the record books here. Monroe not only hosting its first ever Pride event, but the city smashing its previous high record temperature. Much of this event taking place with the temperature right at 100 degrees. And just down the street from where we are, a fire station has opened its doors as a cooling center, one of many around the county.
It's an historic day for us, and we are really excited.
A party in person and full of color as Pride makes its mark on Monroe.
I just came out not too long ago, so it's amazing to see people, celebrating something that I wanted to be a part of for so long. I feel so at home and welcomed here right now.
With plenty of water on hand at Skycomish River Park,
You want some more?
those booths and vendors move to the shade and a light mist to make the scorching sun a little more tolerable. This unbearable heat wave, no match for the mood here.
I can't begin to tell you how many people have contacted us and said thank you. People who grew up here and said, I never thought I'd see this in Monroe. People who are here now who said, this makes me feel more safe and I can be who I want to be and who I am.
And over at Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue Station 31, it's been transformed into a heat shelter.
This is your place. This is the community's building.
Deputy Chief Scott Dorsey urging those who can't find relief to consider stopping by.
Whether it be for a few minutes or a few hours, it doesn't matter to us. We're here. Pushing 100 is not what people around here are used to, for sure.
Already, he says crews have seen a spike in heat-related calls.
If you're not going to leave the house, make sure you're paying extra attention to yourself, to your health.
Elsewhere around the county, libraries are transforming into cooling centers. We know that the branch in Edmonds, Darrington, and Briar are all welcoming the public if they need somewhere to catch a break from the sun. The Everett YMCA, as well as the Alderwood Mall, have air conditioning, and people are welcome to go there as well. In Monroe, Cole Miller, KOMO News.
Cole, thanks very much. The threat for heat-related illnesses rising just like our temperatures. Already fire departments and local hospitals responding to or treating patients because of the sweltering heat. KOMO's Abby Coney is live in Seattle tonight to break down all of the trends. And Abby, it sounds like Harborview's been busy.
Yeah, Harborview Medical Center, Michelle, telling me they've had about 5 or 6 patients all over the age of 50 come into its emergency department over the last 2 days due to heat-related issues. And while most of those cases were minor, one elderly man was found passed out in his car due to heat stroke. Thankfully, he's in stable condition right now. Here are the important warning signs of heat stroke. Let's list these out for you. First, a high body temp of 103 degrees or higher, hot, red, dry, or damp skin, a fast, strong pulse. Heat stroke can also give people a headache, dizziness, nausea, and confusion, and even make them lose consciousness like the case I mentioned before. Dr. Stephen Mitchell, medical director of the emergency department at Harborview Medical Center, says he has to pack patients in ice in the most serious cases.
So all of us need to be really watching out for our friends and our families and for people in the community that you come across if they're not acting right because of the heat.
Dr. Jeff Duchin, health officer for Seattle and King County Public Health, also released a statement today. He encourages people to reschedule any outdoor activities tomorrow. He also says employers need to support employees who work outdoors by giving them frequent breaks. I also talked to Swedish and Evergreen hospitals. They tell me their systems have only had a few patients for heat-related issues come in. Most of them are minor. Of course, we have posted resources in all of these various cooling centers around the region on our website at KOMOnews.com. Reporting in Seattle, I'm Abby Coney, KOMO News.
Abby, thanks very much. That's KOMOnews.com/hot weather. You'll find everything you need to know. Well, how are you beating the heat? We want to see your pics and your video. Heather Sargent, we say thank you because she sent us this great idea to keep cool. Her family is running a water hose. Check this out, in front of 2 fans. That is a homemade mister. I remember seeing those all over Phoenix, Arizona. They do the trick. Show us how you and your family are beating the heat wave of 2021 by heading to KOMOnews.com/chime-in. Right now, Fisher Pavilion at the Seattle Center is open as a cooling center so people can escape the heat. And people are definitely taking advantage of it. Since sleeping in the heat is just so difficult, they have opened the facility as a 24-hour cooling center. The Salvation Army is running the shelter. The city says there's room for 73 people inside. And get this, they're also providing meals. People that we talked to at the center say they are relieved to now have a place to escape the heat.
Currently, it's fantastic. it's very necessary, but I mean, it's, I don't really know the right word for it, but thankful it's here, that's for sure.
The shelter is open through Tuesday morning. The HOPE team is doing welfare checks and giving out water bottles. That's in addition to also helping to transport people to cooling centers. All right, the big story of the day. It is a weather-worn day. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell is in here tonight discussing this unprecedented heat wave. And I think, Shannon, in our last hour, you mentioned that extensive heat warning has been extended. Is that correct?
It is correct, and we are going to talk about that because even when we cool down, and we'll cool down pretty dramatically on Tuesday by a good 20 degrees, it's still going to be well above where we're supposed to be. So this is why. Look at Monday. We saw 103. Michelle has talked about that, a tie of the all-time record at Sea-Tac Airport today. But look at where we're going tomorrow. Temperatures around the Sound between about 107 and 115, including models going for 113 unbelievable degrees apiece for both the Olympia and the Sea-Tac Airport. And out at the beaches today, we were running well into the triple digits, so that heat is going to start to focus in the interior here on I-5 tomorrow. Notice the beaches do start to cool down. But when you're talking about 113 in Seattle, look at how that lines up with some of the hottest readings ever recorded in places that are much more familiar with the heat. Austin at 112, Houston at 109. If we make it to 113 tomorrow, we are going to surpass both of those all-time hottest readings ever, which is just incredible here in the Pacific Northwest. Michelle is right. We have extended, or the Weather Service has extended, the excessive heat warning. It now goes for Tuesday through most of the western side of the Cascades, and even into Wednesday and Thursday for parts of eastern Washington, because the triple digits in many cases just don't want to quit even once we start to cool down. In fact, it stays very warm all the way through the 4th of July, and fire danger will be sky high. So we'll speak more about that coming up in the rest of my forecast.
Shani, thanks very much. Always good to have you here back on the weekends. Right now, firefighters in eastern Washington battling a huge brush fire. Take a look at this. These are the winds that Shannon was concerned about. These photos are out of Lynd, Washington, in the eastern part of the state, and fire officials say that fire is about 20,000 acres, and it is growing. And what's troubling is you see some structures there in that photograph, so that is definitely worrisome. You see the State Patrol there on the highway. They're asking people to avoid the area, and it is threatening homes and other buildings. Right now, evacuations, we have just learned, are in effect, and the fire is forcing the closure of roads in and around that area, so check before you go. So far, there is no word of any injuries. We hope it's going to stay that way. The risk of wildfire, we'll remind you, is higher right now because of the heat and the dry conditions. Be safe out there. Well, let there be drinking water. Seattle City Parks came through. They had only about 20% of their water fountains operating due to COVID, but a massive last-minute push got more than 85% of the fountains back up and running. Nearly 200 fountains now operating just in time for the heat wave. The Parks Department said it takes time because some fountains did require repairs. The city hopes to have all park fountains back online by mid-July. Well, pets, they need to keep cool, too. I know you know that. You love your fur babies, but vets reminding us all to keep an eye on pets in the sweltering heat. The Humane Society and other vets suggesting walking pets early in the morning and in the evening, and to limit the time actually outside. And don't forget the H2O. Make sure to keep drinking water. Have it on hand for you and your pet. And don't forget, animals left in parked cars in the heat can develop heat stroke extremely quickly. Inside a car, it can reach nearly 200 degrees in just a matter of minutes. Today, Snoqualmie fire reminding us also that our rivers and lakes can be dangerous, even deadly. Sorry, we got to repeat it again and again because it keeps happening. On Facebook, they posted this quote: "The river flow is high right now," and on Saturday alone, they responded to 7 rescue calls. In each one of them, yep, multiple people had to be rescued. They used the Facebook post to also remind us to use caution while on the water, and despite the triple digits, that water dangerously cold. And once you're in it, it can result in shock, muscle cramping, even hypothermia. Always wear a life vest, and if you're going to be in the water, make sure you do it and swim with a buddy. The KOMO News Network will be with you throughout this historic heat wave. Keep it here or check us out online. When we are not on the air, you can definitely get updates to your forecast, information on cooling centers, and other valuable information online at komonews.com/hot weather is where you'll find all the information about this heat wave. You can also get weather alerts and any other breaking news sent right to your smartphone. Download our free KOMO News app. Today's a good day to do it. Today, the death toll from that devastating condo collapse in Florida, it continues to climb. New tonight, coming up next, lawmakers say we could be closer to an infrastructure deal. Why one lawmaker says he's actually confident President Biden will sign off on the latest bipartisan proposal. And a drug maker working on a COVID-19 vaccine specifically for the variants. We'll tell you all about it. The details just ahead. Can you believe it? We hit 103 degrees today. We are just breaking records left and right. This is a live look at Lake Union. And I gotta say, even from a distance, that water looks refreshing. Finding a cool spot, it is hard in the heat, particularly this kind of heat. And Shannon, I gotta tell you, I noticed something different. It's just anecdotal, right? But between yesterday and today, I saw a ton of people outside at all the parks and all the water under a tree. And today on my way into work, same route. Not so much.
Yeah.
I think more and more people are staying inside to keep cool.
A lot of people have had it, and they get tired and they're just trying to get away from the heat after a bit. Once in a while we've had these spikes where we get close to or even beyond 100 degrees, certainly once every 10, 15 years or so around here. But that kind of heat wave usually only lasts for about a day. One of the big differences this time, not only how extreme the temps are going to get, but just how long this one is lasting. And so I think Michelle's right. People are already getting kind of worn out. Unless you're at summer camp, our own Charlie Harger from KOMO News Radio sent in this shot, and he said the kids across the water are screaming and having fun. Dipping into the lake here. I think this is Pine Lake. I haven't heard back from Charlie, but it looks kind of familiar to me. It's a great day again to get in a swim as long as you practice that water safety. We've talked a lot about how cold the waters still are, especially as you go down into some of the deeper areas. And it is definitely the day to wear sunscreen and limit your activity as well. We're heading into some really rough sleeping weather tonight, because tonight will be the hottest night we've ever had to try to sleep through here in Western Washington. Our overnight lows will eventually bottom out in the mid-70s for record high lows, but that means within our homes without AC, especially some of these high rises in downtown Seattle, bedroom temperatures will be in the 80s, if not the 90s, if you don't have air conditioning nearby. As we head into Monday, temperatures soaring to 110 degrees or more around parts of Puget Sound. Another piece of this weather puzzle is the haze starting to build up, which always happens when we have a heat wave. It's this lid of high pressure just pushing down on us and trapping all of the pollutants and the particles near the surface. So we're starting to get poor air quality now, especially near the foothills, and we're also losing our visibility. Right now it's 102. A little bit off of the daytime high, which was 103 at Sea-Tac Airport. That tied the all-time record for the hottest day we've ever had here around Puget Sound. Even warmer in Olympia at 104, Bellingham 2 days in a row at 95. Look at the Strait of Juan de Fuca, reliably cool Port Angeles at 97 degrees. I think the most worrisome number, though, here is 103 out of Aberdeen. That is 40 degrees above average. That's where the thermal trough is sitting today, and tomorrow it shifts into the interior, which is why I'm so much more worried that we'll add another 10 degrees to the readings that we already had this afternoon, which are so scorching here in the metro area. One of the big reasons is the winds have shifted. We've got these gusty northeasterly winds now howling through the gaps in the Cascades and blowing out to sea. As that air comes over the Cascades and comes down below, it heats things up even more. So again, we've got that 1-2 punch of the big heat dome up above and the thermal trough down below. And because it will be right over I-5 tomorrow, it's going to be even hotter tomorrow for most of us than it was today. Overnight, it takes all night just to cool off into the 70s. Again, that's outside. Inside our homes, much hotter. And look at the temps tomorrow. 117 because of those easterly winds in Kent. Back to 114 in Issaquah, 111 out of Snoqualmie. We'll also be well into the triple digits around Lakewood at 114, 108 out of Eatonville. Snohomish County, again, you get closer to the water, it's a little better with 103 in Mukilteo, but 111 around Monroe and Gold Bar. The Strait still just as warm with 97 in Port Angeles, 109 out of Glacier and Maple Falls. The beaches, look at the difference. A marine push, we'll talk about that more in the next half hour, starts to cool things off around Long Beach, but 109 there around Vancouver. And Eastern Washington just as hot as we are. In fact, even warmer in Richland at 116 there in the Tri-Cities. So, Michelle, again, I think it's really the concern about how hot the coast is today. And the next day, the thermal trough always tends to move into the interior around I-5. If the coast is 40 degrees above normal, that's what we're going for tomorrow. 107 to 115 here around Puget Sound. Absolutely unheard of. And even when we do start to cool down with that marine air trying to get in on Tuesday, we dropped 20 degrees or so, but it's still a toasty 90 on Tuesday afternoon, and that's why that excessive heat warning has been extended now to include Tuesday as well.
You know, we've been talking about it for days, but I still can't wrap my head around 113 degrees. Just hoping it doesn't happen.
It's pretty crazy.
It really is indeed. Crazy hot. All right, thank you, friend.
Sure.
It's Sunday, and that means time to meet another one of Eric's heroes just ahead. One man's 62-year journey to find his thing, his passion. What he discovered will blow you away. That and more when KOMO News at 6 o'clock returns. Welcome back. It is time to meet another one of Eric's heroes, and tonight we're going to go to the town of Bow to follow one man's journey. Most of us have probably wondered somewhere along the way if there was some hidden talent that we have just inside of us, but we hadn't discovered it quite yet. And he has found his passion, and we're so glad he has. Eric, thank you as always for that story, and thank you, Joe. We want to hear about the heroes where you live. Send us an email anytime to heroes@komonews.com. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back. Breaking news, we did it. The National Weather Service Center says Seattle has reached a record high of 104 degrees hit on this day at 5:29 in the afternoon. That breaks the all-time record of 103 that was set back in July of 2009. It has never been hotter in climate recorded history in our area. And the National Weather Service says it is the first time the city has seen 2 straight days over 100 degrees in recorded history. We are expecting it to be even hotter tomorrow. No relief from the heat. At night, we are breaking daily temperature records as well. We have a list of cooling centers, spray parks, what you need to know to help keep you safe, to help us all get through this. None of us have been through this before, so we're in it together. Any help you need, go to komonews.com/hotweather. We have all the resources you need right back there. And in a few minutes, we will check in with Shannon O'Donnell to get her take on this unprecedented day. 104 degrees, a new record high, an all-time high in Seattle, recorded at Sea-Tac just close to 5:30. All right, taking a live look now at the U.S. Capitol, and a Democratic senator there believes a bipartisan version of President Biden's infrastructure plan is going to pass. For weeks, and approved yet for emergency use in the U.S. Coming up, homeless advocates in Everett raising a red flag, saying hold on, ahead of an encampment sweep that's scheduled for tomorrow. The concerns they have about moving the camp, and yeah, it's all tied to the triple-digit temperatures. With the unprecedented heat, some homeless advocates in Everett are asking city leaders to hold off on an upcoming encampment sweep. KOMO's Jonathan Cho reports it's all about safety.
Stay in the shade as much as they can.
On this stretch of Wetmore Avenue,
no matter where we go, we just get swept off the streets and just treated like we're nothing.
Homeless campers like Derek Yeary are looking for some compassion, not another sweep, especially in this oppressive weather.
We're going to have to pack up all of our belongings and try to move that stuff during the heat wave, and that's just heat stroke.
But on Monday, the city's expected to clear everyone out at the height of this record-breaking heat.
If they're scattered all over the place, how can we find them?
Homeless advocates like Leslie Brown say people here have all kinds of health issues, and being forced to move in scorching temperatures could make matters worse.
We have to be able to know where they're going to be so we can take them food and take them water.
Mayor Cassie Franklin was unavailable to answer our questions or talk about the sweep. Critics also say there's been a lack of communication from City Hall on keeping homeless people safe in this extreme heat.
Has the city been out here to help you guys or to offer some support, any outreach?
Not that I've seen or heard of so far.
And when it comes to finding relief, the homeless are pretty much on their own. As of now, the city's not providing transportation to cooling centers or shelters.
Stacking up water, stacking up sodas.
That's why Jason Cockburn's temporarily turning his drug rehabilitation center into a refuge from the heat and offering rides to get there.
Ask them if they're okay. Ask them if they need help.
Everett police officers are planning on doing more well-being checks at encampments.
Can we move you into the shade?
And volunteers like Gigi Graff will be giving out water and other supplies.
We just want to make sure everybody is taken care of.
Now, a city spokesperson says they're working closely with Snohomish County to open up more cooling centers across Everett and will continue their outreach to help the homeless. For Everett, Jonathan Cho, KOMO News.
All right, important story. Jonathan, thanks very much for that. Let's get right to Shannon O'Donnell. Shannon, you have been forecasting it, and it happened. 104 degrees. Your reaction, and tell me more.
Yeah, 104. We talked about that earlier, Michelle. We were at 103, and I said, I think we can just make it to 104 here. Easterly winds are kicking in. We did it. Hottest day of all time until tomorrow. We'll talk about it coming up. My forecast is next.
Taking a live look at Lumen Field tonight. The Mariners are on the road in Chicago taking on the White Sox. All right, taking a live look at Lake Washington. Our big story today. We have broken a record, my friend. It is hazy out there, it is hot out there, and it is humid. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and we call that Triple H weather, Shannon. Hazy, hot, and humid.
It is.
And a record breaker to boot.
A record
Fill us
breaker.
in.
You know, we were up to 102 yesterday at Sea-Tac. The hottest of all time was 103, and we just came in at 104 during the 5 o'clock hour at Sea-Tac Airport. It will be the hottest day on record for most of Puget Sound until tomorrow, when we shoot up to an amazing 113. Really? Is that possible? You know, it's so hot out there right now, so we've got this warm jumping off point. The coast today was over 100 degrees in most locations, running 40 degrees above normal. This will put us at 40 degrees above normal up and down the I-5 corridor as that axis of heat, the thermal trough, shifts inland on Monday afternoon. Port Angeles, we've been in the 90s for days, upper 90s this afternoon, even on the reliably cool Strait of Juan de Fuca. It feels like we're in Cabo here instead of close to the Canadian border. Hood Canal, it's also bright and blue. It looks like this fantastic day, but it is toasty warm with triple digits there between Shelton and Quilcene. And then back toward White Salmon in the Gorge, you can also see the haze is starting to build there in eastern Washington. This is the camera from the Skyline Hospital looking back across the Columbia River. Temps today also well into the triple digits on the eastern slopes of the Cascades as well. 102 was the final out of Spokane. We made it to 114 in Richland. The hourly temp hasn't come back in to boost that 103 to 104 at Sea-Tac, but we did indeed hit 104 there at the airport today. And I think this is the most concerning number of the batch, because 103 around Ocean Shores, Aberdeen and Hoquiam, that again is 40 degrees above average. And that's why as that heat axis shifts inland tomorrow, we're going to add about 10 degrees to the readings we had here today around Puget Sound. Absolutely incredible. I'll look at the satellite picture. It's clear as can be. We're waiting for that marine layer. Look, it's going the wrong way, heading down toward Cape Mendocino instead of moving north toward us. This big ridge of high pressure, we've talked about the haze. It's not only responsible for the extreme heat, but also it's bearing down on us, trapping all of the pollutants and the smog and the particles near the surface. And so that's why we are indeed seeing the haze starting to build up along with that continuation of the heat. So what about that marine layer that we saw all the way down toward the California coastline? We need it back. We're not going to get it back anytime soon here, at least for the interior. Look at the gusty easterly winds continuing to blow on the futurecast all night long. By the time we hit Monday morning, same goes. We've got the easterly winds. We'll start out with temperatures in the mid-70s to about 80 for terrible sleeping weather overnight. Here comes the marine push as we head into Monday evening. That will dramatically cool down the coastline by Monday afternoon, Monday night. We'll go from hot and seeing highs in the 90s to dropping back into the 60s with cool clouds and drizzle and a gusty onshore flow. So a big change tomorrow for the coastline. Not in time to cool us down, though, yet in the interior, that is for sure. So overnight tonight, again, the rough sleeping weather, temps cooling into the mid-70s by dawn tomorrow morning. That'll be the hottest night we've ever had to try to sleep through. And again, those are the outside temps. Inside our homes without AC will easily stay in the 80s, if not the 90s, all night long. And that warm jumping off point carries us to about 113, simply scorching in Seattle. Hottest day of all time. Certainly going to be in the cards tomorrow, no matter where we end up, probably between 108 and 115 for most of us around the Sound. The weather warning day has been extended now, along with the excessive heat warning from the Weather Service, into Tuesday, because, Michelle, even when we do finally get a taste of that marine air and we cool down by 20 to 25 degrees, that still only gets us down to 90. That's still extremely hot. Further cooling for the rest of the week, but we never get back to normal. We should be in the low 70s. We cool down as low as 84 by Wednesday, and then we creep back up into the 4th of July holiday weekend. Normally we'd look at an 89 on the 4th and say, wow, we got a nice 4th of July for a change around here. We always joke about summer not beginning until the 5th. I think 89, we'd like to see it cooler at this point. After this big dome of heat and extreme temperatures, fire danger is going to remain sky high as we head toward that holiday weekend as well.
Yeah, lots to worry about and pay attention to. And now we have a new weather lexicon word, right? Heat dome, things that we've not talked about before. All right, thank you, friend. Keep cool.
You're welcome. You too.
Beyond the vaccine, some novel new treatments to tell you about for coronavirus seem to be working. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson sat down with Dr. John Dye from the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases to explain.
Aside from the vaccine, what are some promising therapies that are now being used or that you see on the horizon?
So the steroid treatments that are going on in hospitals right now seem to have great effects.
Why is that?
So basically you're amping up your immune system to be able to control the virus better. It's basically priming your system so that you're able to control. There is a lot of studies that have been going on with convalescent plasma, where you take product from a person who has survived the infection prior and has nice high neutralizing antibody titer in their blood, and then provide that as a treatment. That seems to be working very well. There's also multiple monoclonal antibodies and cocktails of antibodies that have been moving forward from Abcellera and Eli Lilly, from AstraZeneca. They're moving these products forward, and they are actually in phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials.
How do you get antibodies? If that's not a vaccine, is that an injectable, though?
That's an injectable, right. So you would actually IV, have it hooked up, and you would receive the dose, and then basically you would be providing the antibodies that are generated from a vaccinated individual directly into you. And I think there's always going to be a place for a treatment like that, because I don't know if you're always going to have 5 to 10% of the people, even if you have a 95% efficacious rate, that aren't responding to the vaccine, don't develop it, so you still need to have something to offer them if they do get sick.
How long does that last, do we know?
So most of the monoclonal antibodies that are moving into treatment are from human. So they're human monoclonal antibodies. So they normally last between 21 and 28 days in the bloodstream. So you would be protected, that would do its action for 21 to 28 days. But in that time, you would expect, let's say you were sick, you received the treatment, your own immune system would start to kick in as well, and then you would be able to control it beyond that. So it's more getting you over the hump to allow your own immune system time to respond to control that virus.
There are hundreds of coronaviruses. Dr. Dye says he and his team are working to develop what they call pan-coronavirus treatments and therapeutics that would work on multiple types at once, so scientists don't have to start from scratch if there is a next time. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
Full Measure airs right here after KOMO News at 11. After the break, out of this world views from the red planet, the new images captured from the Chinese Space Agency. Check it out, amazing images today from the red planet. China's space agency released some new video and some still pictures captured by the country's Mars probe. They show the lander deploying a parachute before touching down on the surface of Mars, and then the rover driving away from its platform. China landed a spacecraft on Mars for the very first time. That was back on May 15th. China is the second country, by the way, to land and operate a spacecraft on Mars after the United States. Pretty cool stuff there, but I gotta say, all anybody is talking about is this heat, Shannon.
Yeah, it feels like we're on another planet, that's for sure. It doesn't seem like something we should see around here, and normally we would not. So this is one for the record books. It's going to break all kinds of historical readings around here. Just definitely a heat wave for the ages. Now, another glance at the temps we're expecting tomorrow. We're going to be in the neighborhood of 105 to 115 around the metro area of Puget Sound. Absolutely incredible. Look at Bellingham at 103, Centralia at 110, and look at the difference at the coastline. A marine push tomorrow will eventually drop Long Beach back into the 60s with cool clouds and drizzle. An incredible.
Feel like we're all going to be melting here. All right, stay cool out there, everybody. Shannon, thanks very much. Much more coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. We'll see you back then.